crew, and she was subsequently hospitalized because she is crazy. Now, what does this have to do with neurolinguistic programming? Well, this has everything to do with neurolinguistic programming. Basically, they are painting you a picture, and they are repeating this image for you all over the world. They are showing you these immigrants. They are telling you that they are Christians. They are telling you that they are involved in cult-like activities, and that they're crazy. They have anchored Christians, Jesus-seeking, rapture-believing Christians, to mental institutions. Okay, that's pretty much it. I don't know what else I can say about it. All right, so I guess you need to ask yourself the question, well, why would they do that? All right, I mean, I think the answer is pretty clear, but it's up to you. So that's where I'll leave it with that. And just to cover another news blip, I just wanted to mention the Christine O'Donnell witchcraft articles, because that's definitely a new one for the American public. Even though we've been inundated with witchcraft-oriented television shows for decades, witchcraft in mainstream politics has not been something that we have been introduced to. So the question is, well, whatever, why even think about it too much? Most likely she was just, in high school messing around with Ouija boards, right? Tarot cards. Wrong, okay? Because like I've been saying, the alternative media scene talks about all this stuff on a daily basis. They talk about the corporate controlled media, and they talk about the false left-right political paradigm and the fact that it's just an illusion, that the political parties are an illusion set up to project the idea of freedom, to make you think you have a choice. And it's also there to divide the people, since a divided public is much more easily controlled. Okay, so these are all openly discussed ideas. Okay, this is not something I came up with on my own, although it is pretty clear, and I probably could have come up with it on my own. I'm absolutely sure of that, but I'm not going to credit myself to that. I'm going to credit them. Okay, so they bring it up, they talk about it, they tell us that it's a false left-right paradigm, that it's all an illusion. Okay, so if all of that is an illusion and the corporately controlled media is an illusion, well then all the stories that come out must be illusions as well, right? That's just simple logic. Okay? So why would they present us with this illusion? Well, it's very simple. More desensitization when it comes to stuff like witchcraft. And not only that, I think they're trying to gauge, how this type of activity will be received by the public. So it's multifaceted here. Okay, but either way, the core issue is witchcraft. Okay, not something that most people even think about or talk about, but apparently this is the core issue. Okay, again, ask yourself why. Why? And it's very simple if you just look into it. If you take the time to look into it, you will find that the answer is very clear. Okay, they talk about how we're moving into a new system. The new system involves a new religion. It's a one world, hardcore 84 type of environment. And the new religion will unfortunately, I guess, incorporate things like witchcraft. Okay? If you don't believe me, just look it up. It's at your fingertips. Everybody's already talking about it. They're talking about it. I'm just commenting on it. I'm just putting in my own 2 cents, making my own minor contribution, and yet I seem to be drawing all this attention to myself. I don't know how that's possible. I really am nobody. I'm not even getting any hits on YouTube, but that is the case. So, Christine O'Donnell, witchcraft, think about it, whatever. I'm going to move on. All right, so existentialism. Why do I bring it up? What's the big deal? Who cares? Existentialism. Okay, just a little background about me. I have a couple of degrees. One of them happens to be a bachelor's in political science. And I actually transferred a bunch, so I attended 3 different schools for various reasons. Took a lot of classes, a lot of political theory-oriented classes, and a lot of philosophy classes. And I have to say that existentialism was rammed down my throat everywhere I went. I don't know how many times I had to read The Republic, the Communist Manifesto, and Nietzsche. That's, pretty much the curriculum these days in the liberal arts scene. Okay? Why do I bring this up? Again, my focus here is supernatural evil. My focus here is the truth. And so I'm just going to quickly discuss this, give you my little take on it, and then I'm going to move on to a clip I want to play for you, because that really is the meat of this podcast. Okay, so what is existentialism? And again, I have a quick little definition here from Wikipedia. Most of the information I've gotten for this has been from Wikipedia, just to keep it simple. Existentialism is a term applied to the work of a number of 19th and 20th century philosophers who, despite profound doctrinal differences, generally held that the focus of philosophical thought should be to deal with the conditions of existence of the individual person and his or her emotions, actions, responsibilities, and thoughts. Okay? So, following the first 2 world wars, we see this fleeing from Judeo-Christian norms and this the attention being drawn to the human existence, to the individual. A removal of the spirit and God from the equation. Okay, because if you look at all the major existentialist philosophers, the one commonality that they all share is they completely, for the most part, reject God as truth, because in their minds there is no proof. So born out of that system of thinking comes existentialism in its many shapes and sizes. All right, so I wanted to focus again briefly on 4 existentialist philosophers, just to rehash it for you all and to show you how this is all rooted in a godless scene. Okay, so Søren Kierkegaard, Danish existentialist philosopher. He has been revered in Denmark. They actually built a statue of the man, and he is considered the father of existentialism. And out of the 4 that I'm bringing up, he's pretty much the only one that didn't fully reject spirituality, but he had to incorporate this element of doubt that inherently is attached to the spirit in his mind. And therefore, in order to truly understand religion, to truly understand God, you have to understand that there is this element of doubt that is forever associated with the concept of God. Okay, that's Kierkegaard. Can be summed up in a letter that he wrote to a friend in 1835. And he wrote, "What I really lack is to be clear in my mind what I am to do, not what I am to know, except insofar as a certain knowledge must precede every action. The thing is to understand myself, to see what God really wishes me to do. The thing is to find a truth which is for me, to find the idea for which I can live and die. I certainly do not deny that I still recognize an imperative of knowledge, and that through it one can work upon men, but it must be taken up into my life, and that is what I now recognize as the most important thing." Okay, so the most important thing for Mr. Kierkegaard was to define his own purpose in life. Okay, very existentialist, not exactly void of God completely, but definitely on that track. Okay, so just to sum it up, again, very focused on the self, very focused on defining meaning for the self. Okay, now we have these other guys that take this concept and they really run with it. So moving on to Nietzsche. And again, Nietzsche is taught all over the place. Everywhere I went, they handed me the book, The Antichrist. Okay? What did Nietzsche believe? From Wikipedia. Nietzsche called the establishment of moral systems based on a dichotomy of good and evil a calamitous error, and wished to initiate a reevaluation of the values of the Judeo-Christian world. He indicates his desire to bring about a new, more naturalistic source of value in the vital impulses of life itself. Okay, of all of these guys, Nietzsche was definitely, obviously, as you are all aware, the most blasphemous, the most anti-God, the most rooted in evolution, which is clearly indicated by his Übermensch concept, the idea of the overman, the Superman, okay, that is directly connected to evolution. Okay, so as Wikipedia writes, in Nietzsche's view, recent developments in modern science and the increasing secularization of European society had effectively killed the Christian God, who had served as the basis for meaning and value in the West for more than 1,000 years. Nietzsche claimed the death of God would eventually lead to a loss of any universal perspective on things, and along with it, any coherent sense of objective truth. Instead, we would retain only our own multiple, diverse, and fluid perspectives. This view has acquired the name perspectivism. Okay, so there are many meanings for many men. Okay, everybody has their own individual perspective on life. But this line of thought goes even further and eventually gave rise to this idea of nihilism. Okay, and as Wikipedia writes, the death of God may lead beyond bare perspectivism to outright nihilism. The belief that nothing has any inherent importance and that life lacks purpose. Okay, so I think it's pretty logical how you can come to that conclusion once you remove spirit from the equation. Now it's almost impossible to define any meaning. And yet man seems to be forever connected to this need to define meaning. So naturally, they go ahead and they define their own versions of meaning. Okay, and in Nietzsche's case, like I just mentioned, he really attached himself to evolution, which gave birth to his Übermensch concept. And I'll read to you his words from Wikipedia.